Are you a chiropractor with a struggling practice, having a hard time finding and keeping patients? Is your staff falling short of expectations? I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer, and DC Trainings has the answers that you need. So tune in now and find out how. Hello, everybody. Welcome to DC Trainings. I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer. It is a beautiful Thursday to talk about chiropractic and progress exams. So we're going to get right into it and go through all the steps that you need for really measuring the progress of your patients in a way that gets away from pain relief. I think that, just to kick off our topic today, I think coming through school, I'm actually speaking at Palmer Chiropractic College tonight, but coming through school, we get focused on symptom relief through our chiropractic care. And really, the big picture of chiropractic care is that we want ultimate wellness. We want to achieve a threshold to where our bodies are functioning at their innate potential from above down, inside out. And doing that or achieving that comes with having chiropractic care. Just like I'm sitting right now, I think we could pretty much say we all sit too much as a society. And it would almost be like if you ate too much sugar all the time and then you wondered, should I go to a dentist? Well, of course, right? I mean, if you eat a lot of sugar, you need to take extra care of your teeth so that they don't decay and rot and you don't lose them. In the case of the spine, I think, as I said, we all sit too much. So I think it is safe to say that everybody needs chiropractic care in some capacity, some more than others, but we need that care to balance our spines and keep our spines flexible and keep our nervous system intact. And that's really important. So in terms of our topic today with the progress exams, this is about really educating our patients about the long-term benefit of chiropractic care. And it's about educating you, doctors and CAs, about having specific milestones within a care plan. So you want to be setting up a care plan with these specific checkpoints along the way, where not only is your patient giving you feedback, but you're also giving your patient feedback in terms of their progress towards this wellness model that I'm talking about and that we all have been trained on and we know so well. And we've probably come to enjoy ourselves, if I could talk, we ourselves have come to enjoy that lifestyle and that optimum health through our own chiropractic care. And then, of course, we get to share that with our patients, which is really exciting. So let's jump right in. And I want to show you exactly how this process works with regards to our, there we go. Hold on real quick here. Oh, and actually that didn't work. So let me shift over to our screen and there we go. Actually, and that didn't do it. Okay. So I'm fumbling around here. I apologize. But there we go. So let me share my screen. There we go. And now I can show you these details. So as I was starting out, I just not to get too off point, but in looking at your screen, these progress exams are important because as we were taught in school, many of our patients will choose the pain relief model because that's what we're all programmed to receive through media and mainstream medicine. And unfortunately, when that happens, then our patients sort of disappear when their pain's gone. So today, what we want to focus on is how to use your unique qualities in your practice. As I said, these checkpoints, these milestones, to really stand out and to help your patients go through a paradigm shift or a new way of thinking into maintaining that optimum wellness and health. So as we go through this, I want you to take some notes. Definitely take out your binders. I have my binder right here on my desk so that you can take notes and follow along. And as always, if you have any questions, just raise your hand and I'll be happy to open up your line. So as it says on the screen, this progress exam happens at the halfway point between when a patient starts care and the report of findings and the completion of their corrective care, which is where they transition into wellness care or supportive care. So this is a halfway checkpoint. And from last week when we were talking about the 10th visit checkup and all of that information, so this is carrying forward. So let's suppose for a moment that you have a patient who is on their initial corrective care. And let's suppose that corrective care is an 8-week series. So you have 8 weeks from when they started care until you're anticipating that they're going to be ready to transition into their maintenance care. So in that 8-week window, this progress exam is going to be at 4 weeks. Okay, so this 4-week checkpoint is what we're referring to in this example. Now, I know that many patients are going to, sorry, I'm jumping around with my screen again, are going to need different lengths of care, right? They might need 12 weeks. They might need 4 weeks. They might need, I don't know what it is, whatever that you decide that as a doctor, that's what we're trained to do. So you can determine what it is that your patient needs in terms of their initial corrective care. But this checkpoint, this progress exam, happens at the halfway point of that initial care plan. Okay. Now, how does it work? When the patient comes in, it's going to be spread over 2 days. Okay. So the 2 days starts with the progress exam on day 1. The patient walks in. Now, before the patient walks in, looking at your screen, the reception CA fills out the progress exam. And actually, I do want to grab my binder because I think it's going to help us all if we have, oops, there's my book too. We all have our binder in front of us, right? So make sure you have it, because this is the form that you're going to be using in your practice for the progress exam. I just had this yesterday in my own practice. I mean, I use this every day, but the progress exam is such a, it's really straightforward and simple when you use the form. And I apologize, I didn't have this opened up before I started, but I do now. So I'm just going to show this to you, and we'll have this on our screen in just a minute. But this progress exam, I'd like you to have this out so you can follow along with me and see exactly what these steps are. So the first part is that the reception prepares the progress exam, which we have the sample for you in your binder as well. And I'm going to show you that as well. There we go. So this sample has 2 sections, 2 main sections. And actually, let me expand my screen because I want to point this out for you on here. So the 2 sections are this top section right here, and then this bottom section. The top section is the part that my CA is going to fill out before the patient arrives. So for all of you, the CA's on the call, and to the CA's on the call, you'll fill this top part out before the patient arrives. Now, we like to do it first thing in the morning before the shift. That's part of our opening procedures. They pull up a list of who's coming in for their progress exams that day. They pull up a list in terms of who's coming in for their progress x-rays for that day. And they get the forms prepared and ready so that when the patient arrives, they can just hand it to them and away they go. So this top part is filled out. Now, what's on this top part? This goes all the way back to module 2, which is new patients, when you took the history. So in the history taking of your new patients, we've determined what their primary concerns are and what their effects are, what the effects of those primary concerns are on the patient's lifestyle in 3 areas: home, work, and hobbies. Excuse me. Boy, I seem kind of scattered today. Sorry. I've been surfing this morning and the waves are really big. So maybe that's some salt water coming out. Anyways, so the steps that we're going to go through on this, though, is the patient comes in, right? This is filled out now. And this top part, they're going to reference that. I'm sorry, I got off track. So on that new patient appointment, when your CAs or you doctors are doing that history taking, we got the primary concerns, we got the effects on home, work, hobbies. So in this example, in your binder, we have low back pain, migraines, and heartburn as the primary concerns. We have the effects as lack of sleep, fatigue, irritability at home. At work, can't concentrate, miss some days of work, and with hobbies, no surfing, right? Which I know all of you can sympathize how terrible and tragic that would be if we can't go surfing, right? The whole world ends. Now, that's filled out so that the patient can see that. Now, here's what happens, though. Patients will come in and they'll have these terrible symptoms like the ones that I just described. And as they're getting adjusted and the nerves are healing the body and the innate is taking over and healing the body, those symptoms often fade away. And what happens? The patient forgets all about them. So they forget the fact that they had low back pain. They forget about the migraines. They forget about the digestive problems or the heartburn. Those sort of fade off in the distance. So this serves as a reminder that, hey, these were the problems that you had when you first came in, and this is how it was affecting you. Don't be surprised if your patient says, wow, I forgot all about that. That was really bad. Now, in the course of reminding them about those things, what does that do? That builds value for what? Continued chiropractic care, right? The slogan that we have in DC trainings is lifetime care, 1 year at a time. Lifetime care, 1 year at a time. So given that expectation, we're planting the seed and we're building value by reminding our patients about these issues that they were having when they weren't getting adjusted and when their body had subluxations that was compromising their health. We're reminding them about those times so that they realize and appreciate being healthy and strong in the future, right? So we want to make sure that we're bringing this up, and it's going to come up again in our next webinar series, or not series, but our next webinar when we talk about the corrective care completion, right? It's going to come up again then, and it's even going to come up again after that for our care plan renewal section. Why am I telling you that? Because it goes back to module 2. So please make sure that in your consultation, in your history taking of a new patient, that you're gathering that important information about their primary concerns, their effects and their effects. I'll just simplify there. Primary concerns and the effects. You have to get those details because those details at the front end carry through the entire care plan and even beyond into the future. So let's go back into my screen and continue that process. So the CA prepared the progress exam top part. Then your patient comes in, right? And the patient answers the 7 questions on the form, right? So these 7 questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all through here, the patient fills that out in response to the top section, which has the lists of primary concerns and effects, which they may have forgotten about, they may have not forgotten about them, but the patient answers those 7 questions, and then the CA brings that patient back to a private room, right? So we want to make sure that there's a little brief consultation that's going to happen once we get into that private room. And I just want to remind you, because we have quite a list of people on our call today, please let me know if you have questions. Just want to make sure that we don't leave any questions unanswered. Please let me know if you have questions. Just raise your hand. I'll be happy to open up your line. Okay, so let's keep going and go to the next slide. The CA now is going into the private room with the patient, and as far as the exam, well, actually, I'm going to come back to that. The exam process, I'll share that with you in a minute. See, I'm tripping over my own tongue. This is exciting stuff. I can't talk fast enough. No, I'll slow it down. Okay, so I want to back up for just a moment because on your screen it says CA or Associate DC. Now, if you're a 1-doctor practice, then doctors, you're going to go in and do this. And you'll meet with your patient and you'll do what I'm about to describe. If you have CAs, I recommend your CAs do this. Now, some of you have 1 doctor and 1 CA, right? So you're thinking, well, I need my CA to run the front desk in order for me to be able to do this with a patient. And I'm going to advise against that for a number of reasons, but primarily the reason why is because this builds value for your patient, number 1, and it builds value for your CAs when they're more involved in patient care. How much more exciting is it when, as a CA, rather than just answering the phone and scheduling appointments and seeing patients at the front desk, when you actually get to interact with patients about the amazing and miraculous results that they're getting from their chiropractic care in a one-on-one private environment. So they can actually share with you these exciting changes that they're having separate from the more public environment of being out at the front desk. So if you have just 1 CA, doctors, come up to the front desk I don't know how your CA can page you or tell you or holler at you. Come up to the front desk, doctors, and trade with your CA. Let your CA go back to the room, meet with the patient, and you just watch the front desk for a couple minutes. It's not going to be long. Answer the phone, greet your patients, tell them you're just waiting for your CA to finish a consultation with a patient. And then the CA will come back, you'll trade, and you'll go in and do the second part of the exam. Or you might even go and adjust a round of patients and then go in and do the second part of the exam, depending on how busy and what your flow looks like. But I strongly encourage you, CAs, and wouldn't you love to do this? So you can back me on this and ask your doctors to help set this up. But I strongly encourage you, have your CAs do the part where they're going in for this consultation. Now, I know I'm kind of belaboring that a bit, but I want to take it to the next part, which is it says CA or associate DC. If it's an associate DC that's going to do this, I also feel then the CA doesn't need to do it. If you have an associate doctor, which I know that there's two of you actually that are working on doing that right now, so I'm excited for you. But if you have an associate doctor, then what you'll want to do is have the associate doctor do the first part. Now, why is that? Because there has to be this consistency with your chiropractic care and your associate's chiropractic care. And the patients need to see the two of you as essentially being interchangeable. So what do I mean by that? When your patients come in to get adjusted, the two of you, you and your associate, should be so close in your adjusting styles that the patients just say, I don't care who I see. Whoever sees me is fine. I'll get adjusted with either doctor. No problem. That's what we're aiming for. Now, what's the benefit of that? The benefit of that, doctors, is if you want to take a vacation, then your associate doctor can cover for you. And when you come back from your vacation, your practice hasn't tanked because nobody liked the adjustments with that other doctor, right? So we want to keep that consistency. The other part of that, which is obviously even more beneficial, is when there's two of you or more of you, then you can serve that many more people. And my goal with DC trainings and for you as members of DC trainings is to expand the profession of chiropractic to take care of more people, to get more people off of pharmaceutical products and put them in a position to sustain optimum health through their own self-care and chiropractic care. I mean, that's why we do this. So I want to teach these systems to you in a way that allows you to take your practice to whatever level you want to take it to. You want to take it to 200 patients a day, 300 patients a day, 1,000 patients a week, 5 doctors, 10 CAs, either way, or just one doctor, one CA, whatever it is, let's streamline it for you so that your practice is running smoothly, it's profitable, it's not stressful, and you're taking care of as many patients as you want to take care of. Okay, so follow me along with these cycles or these sequences and plug them into your practice, and you'll see it definitely increases your capacity and it increases your profitability. Okay, so back just to recap this. The first part, either the CA goes in and does the consultation part, or the associate doctor goes in and does the consultation part. Meanwhile, I, as the doctor, am just still adjusting, or if it's just one doctor, one CA, I, as the PDC, the primary doctor, I'm going to go to the front desk and I'm going to run the front desk while my CA is doing this, which I know I'm smiling because I know some of you, your ego might get in the way and you say, I'm not going to run the front desk. My CA does that. Why can't I be with the patient? Just trust me on this one. You'll build value, you'll have better retention, and your CAs are going to love it. So, okay, let's, so that's this first part here. Now, how does this little mini consultation kick off? The first part is we want to complement our CA and repeat the primary concerns. So how does that work? Emily, you can be our star patient of the day. Emily, just want to let you know we appreciate you. You're a great patient. We're really happy to help you. I just want to review where we started just a short time ago and share that with you. Because when you came in, now let me just pause for a minute, separate from my pretend conversation with a patient. I've already seen the answers here, so I know what's on the page. So if you're thinking, well, why is he saying that when it's written out right there? The fun that comes with hearing the stories and having that conversation far surpasses just reading it on the page and saying, okay, I got it, I read it. Okay, so you want to go through this even though it is written on the page. Okay, so Emily, just wanted to repeat this or just review this. When you came in, you had low back pain, and that was for 4 days. You had migraine headaches for 10 years. You had heartburn for 10 years, and it was affecting you at home with lack of sleep, fatigue, irritability. At work, you couldn't concentrate. You were missing days from work, and you couldn't surf, which is your favorite hobby. So all those things were going on. Now, you circled about a 70% improvement. Now, I'm just referencing the page right here. So you circled about a 70% improvement, which is great. Tell me about the improvements that you've had. Now, again, I know it's written right on there, but I just want to let Emily share with me how much better she's doing. And trust me, it won't get into a long, drawn-out conversation. I know you may have a busy practice going on. There's patients waiting. The doctor's at the front desk while you're in the room, CAs. That's okay. Just let them share with you and express their feelings around the changes that they've experienced with their health. Now, if they are a chatty patient and it goes on longer than, maybe a minute or something, I mean, generally for me, when I do it, it takes about a minute. They get off their chest these great changes, and I say, wow, that's so exciting. Oh, thanks for sharing. I'm so glad to hear that. This is really amazing. And to think of what you were going through before, it's just not okay to be having to go through that and not have hope for changing it for the future. We're so glad you're doing so much better. So get excited and positive and optimistic and happy with your patient while they're sharing with you the improvements that they've had right here. This is number 2. Then you shift. So thanks so much for sharing that with me. Now, would you mind just telling me where you're still concerned? Tell me about the concerns that you still have. Now, again, I know it's written on the page, but I want the patient to share it with me. Okay. So she says, well, I'm still having migraines a couple times, 1 or 2 times a month, and I still have heartburn. So, and of course, the part they were doing better about was the low back pain. So obviously, given the time frame of getting this corrective care process finished, this is just the halfway point. So are we expecting 100% improvement yet? No. This is the halfway point of what we anticipated it was going to take. So sometimes patients will be ahead of the game. Sometimes they'll be a little short of where we want to be. That's why we're doing this checkpoint. So in this case, the areas that are still concerning Emily are the migraines and the heartburn. And I want to express empathy around that. Gosh, thanks so much for sharing that with me. Rest assured, we're not done yet. We're still going to see more improvements. This was just a checkpoint to make sure that everything about your condition is responding the way we need it to. So just know there's more results that are coming, but I'm glad to hear about the results we've seen so far. Okay, so you're kind of giving that we're doing good, but we still have more work to do. I'm happy about your results, but just don't lose sight of the big picture, that kind of thing. Now, given all of that, we're moving up to the exam. So actually, let me go back to my screen and I'll show you the slide. So we're going to compliment them and repeat the primary concerns. From there, we are going to ask them what the improvement was. So you had said about a 70% improvement. Yes, that's right. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure we're on the same page there. Then we are going to ask about the remaining problems and concerns. So, and you can see the flow of what I just went through, right? I said, you circled about a 70% improvement. Tell me about the areas you're doing better. Great. Now tell me about the areas you're still concerned about and be specific, as it says on the screen. Then we're going to move into the exam. In the exam, we're going to redo the same exam we did before. Now, when I say we, if this is your CA or it's your associate doctor, they're just going to do the tests that they did on the first part of the exam when the patient was a new patient. Meaning, say, the range of motion or some orthopedic testing or some neurologic testing. Those types of tests are going to be redone. The spinal palpation part, that's reserved for the PDC. Or actually, I should carry it even forward because I was on vacation a couple of weeks ago and my CA did the first part of the consult, the re-exam. My associate doctor did the second part, right? Because I was out of town. So this can just help your practice to just completely flow. So no patient's care is compromised when the PDC is gone, or even the associate doctor's on vacation, or there's a CA that's gone. We're never going to compromise our patient's care. We're going to keep this process and the overall level of care at a high, threshold the whole time. Okay. So I want to point this out though, because it says right here, we perform the exam and it's customized per the percent improvement. Now, what does that mean? What that means is on here, this patient circled 70%. So in the 70% category, on that timeline I shared with you, this patient's a little bit ahead of schedule, right? At 70%. They could potentially be fooled into thinking that their subluxations are gone because they don't have a lot of pain left. And we certainly don't want them to get the wrong impression about that, right? We want to make sure that they get all the care that they need to fully correct the subluxations and stabilize them. And I don't mean correct them like to get them back to perfectly normal if that is possible. Some patients have degeneration or osteoarthritis or more permanent changes from long-standing subluxations that we may not be able to reverse. So I use the term stabilize, right? It's not going downhill anymore. It's maybe improving. We may not get 100% improvement, but it's improving for sure. And it's certainly going to be arrested or stopped or stabilized, so it's not going downhill anymore. You can use whichever of those terms you want to use to describe these certain checkpoints along the course of care. So in this case, though, this patient circles 70%. Sometimes you'll have patients that will circle 100%. Like, my pain's gone. I think I'm perfect. It's great. Now, on the surface, that is great. But could a patient be fooled into thinking their subluxations are gone because they're feeling 100% better? Absolutely. So in that case, we're going to actually show them through our exam if there's any remaining areas that still need more improvement. And I'll get to that a little bit more in a second. But on the flip side, what if a patient circles something down in the 10, 20, or 0, 10, 20, or 30%? Well, in that case, maybe they're not feeling results as much as they would like to. And again, they could be fooled into thinking, hey, this isn't working for me. I think I need to find something else, right? Do you see why this is so important to do this? You need to find these out, because if you don't do this checkpoint, your patient will be gone. They'll either say, hey, I was 100% better. I'm good. I don't need you anymore. I'll call you when I'm hurting. Or I just wasn't getting the results I wanted. I was still in pain and I'm going to find somebody else, right? So, but oftentimes the body takes time to heal. You may be right on the right track and doing the right thing and providing the best care, and they just don't realize the extent of the damage to the subluxations, or they don't realize that there's still more work to do. So we want to make sure that they're aware of that. So let me go back to sharing my screen, and I'll explain a little bit more to kind of bring this together. So it says perform the exam with a customized, the exam is customized per the percent improvement that they put down. So in this case, with a 70% improvement, I'm going to want to emphasize those areas that still need more improvement, such as what? Let's say I want to emphasize that their left leg is still shorter, meaning that their pelvis is rotated from a pelvic subluxation and it's still pulling their leg up. So during the course of my exam, if I'm doing a leg check, I might say, oh, you're doing okay up here in your lower back. I'm glad to know that's feeling better. Down here, though, I can see that there's still rotation in your hips. Yep, that still needs some more help. I'm going to make a note of that in your file. Now, just saying it like that lets the patient know, oh, the doctor still has concerns. Well, I don't want to have problems come back. That was really no fun when the problems were there. Maybe I better stick with doing what the doctor's recommending, right? So that would be in the case where if they circled say a 70% or higher, I'm probably going to emphasize those tests that are still showing us that we need more improvement. I'm going to emphasize those. I might use a little more firm palpation around the areas where I say, I just had this week, I had a patient who came in and she was kind of feeling like she was getting better, but she has actually a degenerative subluxation at C4, C5, and there's a pretty big bone spur. So when I was palpating her neck during the re-exam or the progress exam, I put a little more pressure on that bone spurt, not to cause her to be in terrible pain or anything, but I wanted her to feel that spot and know that spot was different than the other spots. And I said, you feel that right there? Yeah, I feel that. Well, let's keep an eye on that because there's still inflammation. That's why it's sore when I push on it. There's still inflammation there. And I feel like if we continue with your adjustments, your body's going to be able to heal quite a bit more and bring that down even further. So that's an example of a patient where they circled a 70% or above, and I don't want them to get the wrong impression. Now let's take it the other way, because again, it said customize the exam based on their percent improvement. Let's say a patient circles 0% or 20%. Well, in that case, I might point out some positive findings. Let's go back to that patient with it's a myospasm or a trigger point in her neck where the muscles are trying to protect the subluxation and prevent more damage, but there's like a spasm right there. Well, in that case, maybe on her first appointment, a short time ago, that spasm was on both sides, or her trapezius muscles had trigger points as well, or she was also getting headaches and the back of her neck was really tight. But now with the progress that we're seeing, the left side of her neck doesn't have that trigger point anymore. Her trapezius muscles are more relaxed. She doesn't have that suboccipital pressure that we can feel when it's really acute. So in the case where a patient's like, well, am I really getting better? I'm not sure. I'm not going to dramatize the knot that's on the right side of her neck. I'm going to actually compliment her on the progress we're seeing on the left side of her neck. So remember when you first came in, feel this sore spot right here? Yes, I do. When you first came in, it was on both sides and your shoulders were really tight. Well, guess what? Now I see that this left side has really relaxed and your alignment has improved a lot and your shoulders have relaxed. That's really great. I'm glad to see that. See, I emphasize when they're circling maybe 0 to 30%, I'm going to emphasize the improvements. Excuse me, when they're circling 70% up to 100%, I'm going to emphasize the areas that still need more care. And if they circle somewhere in the 40 to 60% range, then that's really where they're right on track, right? That's right where we want to be. And there's no real emphasis that's needed other than to say, good job. I think you're right on schedule and let's move forward. Okay. So the last thing I'll mention on the exam part before we move to the next slide is this exam process in terms of what tests you're doing. We already learned this. This is in module 2 in the new patient module. We went through what tests to do, what tests that you don't need to do, and how to do that exam process. So if you have questions about, well, what are they doing in the exam? Just go back and review the module 2 demonstration that I did, and you'll be able to see that on the website. Okay, so let's keep going on this. This is after the exam. So now I've finished. We did that little brief consultation. We finished the exam. The patient now is sitting up, and we're going to have a little bit of a conversation again. The first is to get feedback about care and services. How do I do that? And again, Emily, you can be our star patient. So Emily, based on the exam, I'm going to review that real carefully, or in the case of the associate doctor, if you have more than one doctor, or if it's this, well, it wouldn't be the CA, it's going to be the doctor doing this part. Based on that exam, we're going to review the results real carefully and compare those to the initial results we saw on your first visit. So when you come back for your next appointment, we're going to review the results and let you know how you're doing overall towards getting your spine on the right track. So you're probably going to, well, actually, and I'll finish this train of thought. So we're going to get feedback about their care so far. So based on 3 things, and everybody, you want to write this down. There's 3 things that we're going to ask about when we're getting feedback about care and services. Are you happy with your results? Are you happy with your, well, I'm sorry, more than results, it's adjustments. Are you happy with the way we're doing your adjustments? Are you happy with your appointment times and your schedule? Is that comfortable for you? And are you happy with your payment arrangements? So are you happy with your adjustments, schedule, payments? Those 3 things. So when we say get feedback about care and services, we're asking for feedback on those 3 areas so that in case somebody has a problem with their schedule, the appointments are taking too long, they're not at the right time of the day, or their payments are too high, and they're thinking based on those factors, one or all, I don't know if I can continue with this. This is the time we want to bring this up. Then we want to let the patient lay down, right? And the doctor's going to, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I keep talking about the exam because I'm jumping ahead. But this whole part that I just shared with you, sorry about that. This whole part that I just shared with you is done by either your CA or the associate doctor. We haven't gotten to the spinal palpation yet. So just want to make that clarification. So the patient comes in, CA gives them the form that's already filled out. Patient fills out their portion. CA escorts them to a private room. Either the CA or the associate doctor does this brief consultation, which I just described to you in detail. Then it has the patient lay down, and that's where we're going next. So once the patient lays down, then the CA or the doctor leaves the completed form outside the room for the doctor to come and pick up, right? So now, once that's done, and it looks just like that. So it's outside the room, patient's laying down here. I come walking along now, and I start the exam. Now, the first thing I want to do is compliment the patient, right? Emily, you're doing great. Just today's a big day. I'm really excited to measure your progress and see how you're doing. Let me go ahead and check you today. Now, in performing the palpation, let's make it different than our standard palpation. And depending on what pace your practice operates at, you have your general flow of how you take care of a patient. This is how I palpate. This is how I check on their subluxations. This is how I do the adjustments. So this has to be a little different, well, noticeably different, not dramatically different, but noticeably different from the patient standpoint. So a little slower palpation, a little more firm in the areas where you're checking to see the progress, you're checking for changes, you're checking for areas that are still remaining. So slower, firm palpation, and then you're going to start to give feedback, right? So you're going to say, oh, well, this is doing better here. That's good. And oh, I see some areas I'm going to make a note of here because they're not fully corrected yet. Then once you finish that part of your exam, then sit the patient up and let them know we're going to compare this progress that I'm seeing today with your areas that are still having remaining problems. So we're going to compare progress to residuals. Here's some areas you're doing great. Here's some areas that we still have work to do. And from there, we're going to study these results until your next appointment. So then that's that kind of brief summary of what's taking place. From there, and that process takes about 10 minutes, then the patient leaves. And that's it for that first part. So that was day one. Now we go to day two. Now, day two is the second part of this sequence. Now, let me just say something too, because why are we breaking this up into two visits instead of just doing it all in one? One is for dramatization, but the bigger reason is it splits it up so it doesn't pull you away from other patients for one session that becomes too long. We break it up into pieces so that we can do this during our normal flow. So yesterday, I see a lot of patients. I see about 150 patients a day. I think yesterday we had 147. So, and I don't share that to brag. I mean, you take care of as many people as you want to take care of, and I'm happy for that, and I support you. I like to see about 150 patients in a day. So I had several of these appointments where I was doing either a progress exam or a progress appointment, the A, which is the second part of the progress exam, and it just goes in my flow. Now, if I had a bunch of progress exams and I had to do the first part and the second part, that would lock me into a room for too long. But when I break it in half, I'm only in each room for just a couple of minutes. And that way the patients that are outside aren't waiting too long. So the first reason to break it up into two parts is obviously it builds some suspense for the patient. Oh, I get to wait and get my results next time. That'll be great. And then the second is for efficiency of time while we're serving all the patients that we need to serve. So if we fast forward to day two, the patient's next appointment, then the patient comes walking in. The reception CA sends them to a private room with the form and asks them to place the form outside and lay down to wait for the doctor. Now, the name is highlighted on the form. And let me just kind of frame this for you, because again, as I said, in my office, I'm moving fairly quickly. And if I see that form outside the room, I need to know, is this the first day of the progress exam or is this the second day of the progress exam? And I can know very quickly just by looking at the form because the name is highlighted if it's the second day. So at the end of that first day, when the CA at the front desk takes the progress exam form from the patient and puts it aside in the tickler so that when the patient comes in for the next appointment, it's ready to go, they just highlight the name in yellow and then it's ready to go. When I'm doing my rounds and I come across a room where there's a progress exam form outside the room, all I have to do is look at it, and if the name's highlighted, I know what I'm doing. If it's not highlighted, I know what I'm doing, and it just keeps it seamless. Okay, so that's why we say that the name is highlighted on the form, and it's ready to go. So, and again, this is all about efficiency, right? This whole module, we're going to keep coming back to this efficiency concept because you can have higher volume of patients, but if you're efficient about it, you'll have less work. Okay, so let's keep going. And now the patient's back, they're laying down, and they put the form outside the room. So I come in as the doctor, and I do the patient's adjustment. I'm going to compliment and finish their adjustment. So now they're sitting up. Okay, when they sit up, I have these steps to go through. Actually, I'm sorry. The provide adjustment is last, but I'm actually doing these things while I'm adjusting them. So that's why I put it last. If you want to just adjust the patient and then sit them up and go through these steps, that's fine too. I like to talk to the patient while I'm adjusting them, and it just saves time. So the first step is we're going to compliment them and review their care plan. So Emily, great job on your appointments. Great job on your results. Really happy to take care of you. In terms of your care plan, this is the halfway point between when you started and your first re-X-ray before we move on into your supportive care. So this is that halfway point. The next milestone is going to be the next X-ray, and if you don't do X-ray in your practice, that's fine. I respect that. Whatever milestone you use is fine. So we want to emphasize that next milestone. So this was a checkpoint. You did good. Great job. There's another one coming. Let's not lose sight of that. And in terms of staying focused, where do you see yourself as far as your commitment to following through? Are you still at 100% like before, or is there something else happening? Anything you want to share with me? No, doc, I'm still 100%. Okay, perfect. Let's do it. I am too. So I'm happy to hear that. Let's keep taking care of you. Okay. So we provide the adjustment. And after the adjustment, then I walk the patient up to the front desk, and I'm going to convey the results to the front desk. Now, I have to say that my CAs have probably heard me convey the results, thousands of times by now, right? But I'm still going to say it as if it's the first time. Why? Because it's the first time the patient's hearing it. So you have to have that sort of dynamic with your front desk. And for the CAs on the call, this is probably something that you'll want to role play with your doctors, is that, I know I'm going to say this 1,000 times, but I'm going to walk up to you and I'm going to say it like it's the first time, but it's for the patient's benefit, because they're going to appreciate our sincerity around their results each time we say this. So when I come up to the front desk, Emily, just want to let you know, I'm sorry, to my front desk. So Brenda, I just want to let you know, Emily is doing great. She's made great progress. We're going to keep going along with her adjustments until the next milestone. If you could please confirm that date with her, let her know when that's going to be, and also confirm her appointments are still set up conveniently for her at the best times. We'll look forward to that next milestone. Emily, good job. I'm proud of you. I'll see you at your next appointment. And then I walk back. Okay, so keep that freshness about how you convey that. Let me share my screen here, and that way you keep that sincerity. So after Emily leaves, after I leave, I walk away. Now my CA confirms the appointments and the schedule, still make sure that everything's scheduled at the best times, and then the patient leaves the practice, right? So we've had this two-part process, starting on the first day with the progress exam, on the second day with explaining the results of the exam and scheduling the remaining appointments in that part of the care plan. And that basically summarizes that. Now, let me go back to my screen. Oops. Actually, I need to keep sharing my screen. Sorry about that. Let me move to the next slide, because this process takes about 5 minutes. That's on the second part. And this is a special note I want to share with you, because if I'm on vacation, I'm the PDC, right? If I'm on vacation, then my associate doctor assumes the exact role of mine, and my CAs fill in the role of the DC. Now think about that, because again, this is about efficiency. You want to be efficient, and it's about quality, not quantity of time. So by doing it in this way, you'll maintain the standard of quality time, which takes away from, oh, the doctor didn't spend enough time with me. When the quality's there, you won't hear that. If the quality's not there, then you'll hear patients saying, oh, the doctor didn't spend enough time with me. So you got to kind of get that out of your headspace that, oh, if I don't spend as much time with patients, then they won't have the value for what I'm doing. No. It's about quality of time. And by doing it in this way, you're going to see the quality is really well maintained. So I know we're getting close to the hour. This is a good time to ask for questions. If you have questions, let me know. But I want to jump over to the website. Actually, let me just frame that. So because in my practice, my associate doctor is working alongside of me full time. So when the re-exam happens, my associate takes them into the room, the patient in the room, and does the consultation and the first part of the exam. Then I come in and I do my spinal palpation, and I do the second part where I ask them for the 3 areas, how's our service to you? And then we'll go over the results at the next visit. Then day 2 comes along. My associate doesn't play a role in that. The CA just sends the patient right back. I come in and I go through the second appointment of that series like I shared with you. If I'm on vacation, it changes. My CA brings the patient back, does the consultation, does the first part of the examination, gets the 3 areas of feedback. My associate doctor comes in, just does the spinal palpation, checks in on the 3 areas, and then for the second appointment, the associate doctor goes in, does the whole second part of the exam, or the progress exam, in my place. So that's why when I showed you that screen, there's that switch that happens. And what's nice about that is you still maintain the same quality of care, whether doctors, you're in the office or you're not. That's important. Okay. You don't want your patients to suffer because you're teeing off in Hawaii. We want to make sure our patients get the best care all the time. On the website, you can see our materials here. There's also a video, and it has the day 1 and day 2 demonstration. So I definitely would want to recommend that you watch the videos on the website. We have our next seminar coming up on November. Well, not seminar, sorry. This will be the kickoff of the module. Our next live seminar, though, which I want to share with everybody, is going to be on January 13th, 24. So it's Saturday. Looking forward to seeing you all there. Please mark that on your calendar. It's going to be our next live seminar in, I'm not sure if it's going to be Santa Cruz or San Jose yet, but I'm very excited to see all of you, and want to see everyone come in person so we can get together and spend time with our chiropractic brothers and sisters. In terms of the documents that are here for this section, we have a progress exam sample, which I shared with you. That was what I was holding up here. So that's there for you to reference. It also has the backside of the progress exam form with the exam findings. So take a look at that. Let me know if you have any questions. Kind of like what Dr. Marsh was talking about there, I have it fairly well streamlined. So, even at a higher volume practice, it doesn't take a lot of time to thoroughly document your exam findings. So that's on there for you. And then, and one thing I do want to share with you, I guess I closed it, but over here on the spinal palpation side, I just put in check marks, but you can also do your listings. Sometimes I just had one yesterday where it was a C1 subluxation, and I didn't just put a check mark as a listing. I actually wrote in ASRP because just the patient needs that specificity on the adjustment. So you can also write in the listings on this to help you streamline it as well. Then there's the progress exam scripts. I'm not going to go through that and read it to you right now because just in the interest of time, but that script is there, and it goes through both the CA's section and the patient's section, which you don't need to study that. Patients will say what they say, and they rarely follow the scripts. and then it also has the DC section. So it has that for the progress exam, which is the R, and then it also has it for the progress exam A, which is short for reappoint. So that's on there as well for the second part. So you can read through that. And then lastly, we have this overall or overview, on the outline form. So you can check that out. It shows the 2 appointments, the R and the A, and the outline for each one. And you can just print those out, train your team, and away you go. And that brings us back home here. So that being said, that concludes our webinar for today. Sorry, I just clapped right on the speaker. Sorry about that. It's right in front of me. But that concludes our time for today. Please, as always, let me know if you have any questions. We just had a brand new member sign up this week with DC Trainings. She and I are going to be on the phone in a few minutes. I'm really excited to help her and get started with her practice, to grow her practice. But for all of you who are members of DC Trainings, I'm so proud to work with you and alongside you to help you take care of all the people you need to take care of and run a successful and thriving chiropractic practice. So have a great week, and I will talk to you next week.
If you would like to become a member of DC Trainings, be sure to head on over to dctrainings.com to get started today.